The first verses that our parents teach us as Sikhs are the Mool Mantar, the essential verse, the opening lines of our holy book, the Guru Granth Sahib. The Japji is the first composition of the first Guru, Nanak. This is how it sounds in Punjabi, in the original. Ik Onkar, Satnam, Karta Purukh, Nirbhau, Nirvair, Akal Murth, Ajuni Sehbang, Gur Prasad, Jap, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai bhi Sach, Nanak Hosi bhi Sach. There is one reality, ever existent. It is Naam, the unmanifest, manifested, the creator pervading all, without fear, without hate, timeless, unborn, complete within itself. Through meditation, it may be realized. It was when there was nothing. It was before all ages began. It exists now, O Nanak, and shall exist forevermore. Could you allow me to share screen, please? Could you give me permission to share screen? I'm not able to share screen. I need permission to share screen. Thank you. Can you see the screen? So first, let me thank you all for being here, and thank you to the organizers of this presentation. This has taken a long time to put together, and when John called me to give the presentation, I was a little nervous because I'm not the best Sikh or the most representative one. And as you probably are, do not feel yourself to be able to represent all Unitarian Universalist people in the world, right? So please understand that I have also that same imposter feeling. So, but what I'd like to do is to give you my experience of being a Sikh in a certain way. I've also taken the assistance of many people to put this presentation together, so it's not all my doing. Um, so the title of this presentation is "Who are the Sikhs?" And why do we even have to ask that question? Because we are the fifth largest religion in the world, but we don't proselytize, and it's a religion that's of devotion. So that's our tradition, and so that's why you don't hear of us very much. The Punjabi word Sikh with the aspirated consonant kha means learner. We are knowledge seekers and we learn from our gurus. We learn from one another and we learn from life. So that's why we are Sikhs. On Calhoun Road, just up the street here, look for our Nishan Sahib, it's called. That's the flag draped in saffron cloth. And we have a flag raising ceremony each year where the cloth is replaced. And so you can see that we are not too far away from you. Sikh men and women have been on the North American continent for more than 100 years. There was a land ceiling act in India, and we were under British colonization, just as America was for many years, 250 years. And at the time, they put in this provision that primogeniture, anybody heard of that? So what happened was a lot of people decided to send their younger sons over to other countries. And so they came for the economic well-being of the families who were left behind, because that was the idea, that they would send money back, and they would probably never come back, because in those days you just didn't. The pull factors, though, were that the British Raj was trying very hard to use Indian manpower to resource their colonies. And at that time, Canada was part of the British Empire, and America, of course, had escaped. So they came as farming and lumber industry pioneers, mostly bachelors, with temporary plans to migrate. And of course, the British didn't want the women to come because they didn't want the community to grow and put down roots. So as I said, Sikhism is the fifth largest world religion, with about 26 to 30 million people. And if you encounter somebody wearing a turban, woman or man, 99% of them are likely to be Sikhs. And unfortunately, we have to say not Muslims, because after 9/11, we were targeted as Muslims, and we didn't want to say, hey, no, we're not Muslims, go hit those people, you know. So that's why I don't want to say and not Muslim, but just to say that 99% of the men and women wearing a turban in the US are Sikhs. The Guru is our spiritual guide. And the Guru for us is the holy text. Now, we had 10 Gurus, and the 10th Guru set up the book as the living Guru, because he said, we've said everything, all of the poetry and everything that's in there is your guide from now on. So we have the holy text, and we have our community, and we aspire to be initiated. So we're at various levels of development, let's say, as Sikhs, from the very bad Sikhs like me, and all the way up to the initiated Sikhs who have long hair and keep all the 5 markers of the religion. But to go to the holy text, it is 1,430 pages of devotional poetry written by 7 of the 10 Gurus in their lifetimes. So it's actual words of the Gurus, and it's not like the Bible in terms of the gospel and other people talking about the Guru. It is actually the words of the Guru. It includes 35 Hindu and Muslim poets as well. It's a very inclusive text. It contains no stories, no historical record, no prescribed rituals or prophecies. It is finite and cannot be changed, and there's only one version. Which means that the scribes were very busy before photocopiers and scanners. Our living guru in the Guru Granth Sahib is personified and treated as the embodiment of the Guru's words. Each Sikh has a personal relationship with the Guru's words. It has practical advice on being kind, being truthful, loving, respecting everyone. And we gather to chant from the text and be inspired by it. It's magical, powerful, soothing, uplifting, helpful, connecting, cleansing. And then we have the community itself, which is called the Guru Panth, and it rests in each gathering. That power rests in each gathering, just as it does for you. But 5 Sikhs are allowed to make decisions anywhere. So that's called a quorum. 5 Sikhs make a quorum. The Japji, which I read to you earlier, is the first verse that our parents teach us, the essential verse. And this is the text of it. And I think, John, you have some copies outside if you'd like to look at it further. Now, the core Sikh beliefs are that there's one creative life force pulsing through everything. It's the breath of life that sustains all humanity. All are equal participants in this force, which means that you automatically say that the genders are equal, the religions are equal, the races are equal, and it's a panentheistic religion, so the plants and animals are also equal, which is strikingly different, of course, from the historical application of the Christian faith. There are no mediators required, no pundits, no priests, no nuns, no ministers, no rabbis, no imams, no lamas, no shamans, etc. All have equal access to the creative force, and we're supposed to work and live honestly. Honestly is not defined, actually, but I think the concept is that everybody knows when they do wrong. And so when you say to live honestly, everybody knows when they're not being honest. So that sincerity, that honesty is assumed to be known by the person. And we're enjoined to share with others. It's called seva. So we share our time and our money with others, and the gurus recommend giving what's called daswant, which is 10% of your wealth as donation to good causes. 10% of your wealth is not the same as 10% of your income, just so you know. So there's a large number of Sikhs that once they've made money, begin to give it away. So that's perhaps Bill Gates is a Sikh, I don't know. But so we remember the creative force all the time. So we say Vaheguru, which is like wondrous teachings, wow, all the time. Wonder is part of the faith. Awe is part of the faith. And so that's why the constant repetition of Vaheguru, Vaheguru is like saying, wow, God, isn't this amazing, the creation that you've given us. And so we say it often throughout the day. But no concept of God as is in the Judeo-Christian faith, because then God would be bounded and the devil would be separate. So we don't have that separation of good and evil either. It is within us. Good and evil is within us. So that's a little bit of a different thing to understand. At birth, we have no original sin. We get a clean slate at birth. There is no karma that comes in from another life. Of course, this is highly debated amongst Sikhs. But from what I gather and what I read and what I've learned, there is no karma that comes in from another life because we do not believe in caste. And when you don't believe in caste, you can't say, oh, it's all in your karma. You got it from your past lives. That's not how it works in Sikhism. In Sikhism, you get what you deserve in this life. You're going to get the bad stuff, the good stuff, all happens in the same life. The child's gender is also not to be questioned or preferred. This is also highly problematic because, of course, culturally, there's a let's say, preference for sons and a dispreference, therefore, for daughters. But it's in the text, it says you should not consider women below you. After all, they produce kings, they produce beautiful things. So they are creators in our lives. So why should you consider them below you? So that's in the text itself. The body is a gift. And that is something that was radically different for the 15th century, where ascetics were very much a part of the tradition, and mortifying your body was very much expected if you wanted to get to a higher spiritual plane. But in our faith, the body is a gift. It's not to be overcome. It's not to be abused. It's not to be worshipped either. So the body is something that you exercise, that you enjoy in life. The child is the result of the creative life force, and that implies not to be owned by the parents. That too was pretty radical in those days. After death, we merge into the universal as a drop of rain merges back into the ocean. Individuality is lost at death. Many Sikhs don't believe in reincarnation without the burden of karma. There is no heaven or hell after death. Heaven is to be in tune with the creative spirit while still alive. Conversely, suffering and pain caused by ego is hell on earth. And causes hell on earth, I'm sure. Spiritual pursuits are positive experiences in and of themselves. So if you get an A in school, you don't get a reward from your parents. Generally speaking, they say the A is the reward. And that's kind of a little different from the rest of the students in the school, you know? So it's not a sacrifice made to collect a reward. That's the important thing. Spiritual pursuits are in and of themselves the reward. And there's no reward or punishment after death. It just all happens right here, right now, and deal with it. Deal with it also means personal responsibility. So there's several parts in the Guru Granth Sahib, which I've noted over here. These are just 3 of them, where they talk about personal responsibility. As she is planted, so does she harvest, such as the field of karma. If you sow seeds of poison but demand ambrosial nectar, what justice is that? Let your responsibilities rise from your compassion. And this last one is my favorite. Letting your responsibilities rise from your compassion means that you don't just do your duty because it's your duty. You also have to feel it. So I like that one a lot. The Khalsa is a very select community of initiated Sikh women and men. They pledge to wear all 5 articles of the faith, which I'll come to later as to what they are. They pledge to protect and defend the weak and fight for social justice. And that's probably why you saw the short story that was read out this morning of Ajuni and how brave she's supposed to be, how she's supposed to come to the assistance of other people and make sure that she fights for other people. So that pledge to protect and defend the weak and fight for social justice is just part of the faith. We all do it in different degrees, though. So at a certain point in your life, you can also pledge to really commit to do that social justice element of being a Sikh. You also pledge to be accountable to the Sangha, to the community, when you pledge to be a Khalsa. That's, a little bit more responsible than you already are, perhaps. And that's why we have the concept of saint soldiers, which is the Sant Sipahi, it's called, to be a force for good in both the temporal and the spiritual spheres. So Miri Piri is temporal and spiritual. And we try to be a force for good in both the householder life, in the temporal area, as well as in the spiritual. Gender equality is built into the faith. So Sikh women are not fighting the religion, they're only fighting culture. First names, for example, are interchangeable between men and women. So that's one of the reasons why when we say somebody's name, we usually say or sing afterwards, because then you can tell whether somebody's a man or a woman. But the actual given name can be interchangeable. Not all names, because like my name is probably more feminine than masculine, but that is the general idea. Gender equity, well, like everyone else, we're working on it. And we do have 7 prayers, and the amount of time we're supposed to spend on prayers is 2.5 hours a day, which is a lot. And as I say, I'm not very good at that, but we try. Disbeliefs. So Sikhs do not believe in a soul or its transmigrations, in fasting, superstitions, ritualism, the caste system, terrorism or hurting innocent people, hate or racial profiling. Does this sound familiar? It sounds very Unitarian Universalist to me. Wars and battles based on religion, proselytizing, and evangelism. Sikhism prohibits smoking, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, idolatry and idol worship. And that also extends to not treating the holy book as an idol, but unfortunately, we're not so good in that department. And we're not supposed to worship the gurus as the overall creator, as Vaheguru. We also try to stay with nature so that we are enjoying not to cut our hair. Cosmetic hair removal becomes a great big problem for teenage Sikh women. Piercings, tattoos, and extremes of asceticism. We're also prohibited against disgust of other people's food or skin color. So these are the 5 Ks, the 5 markers of the faith. The iron bracelet, which I wear, the kara, and it symbolizes good deeds. It also symbolizes the life, death, and rebirth of a cycle for some Sikhs. And as I said, that one is pretty debated. Then there's the sword or kirpan, which is for the protection of the weak. It is not for our own protection. It is never to be used in self-protection. It is to be used for the protection of others. There's a long underpants or kachera. Every Sikh is like hung up on the underwear. You've got to have clean underwear every day, because that also shows self-discipline, cleanliness, hygiene, all of those things. But it's defined in the faith. So we're quite paranoid about that one. And then there's cleanliness through the comb, keeping the hair clean, keeping it unknotted, because we also have the enjoyment to keep the hair uncut. So 99% of the people wearing a turban in the US are Sikh men and women, mainly because they have long hair under that turban. So it's not just that they wear a turban. It's like they've got uncut hair below, and so they tie it up in a bun, and the turban keeps it neat and tidy. So it's a religious obligation for Sikh men and optional for women. It's getting to be more popular, though, since 9/11, for women also to take the burden of wearing the turban. My father wore a turban when he came to UW medicine in the 50s. He was one of the only two Sikhs at the time. I think between his first year and his second year, there was another Sikh who came in who wore a turban in Madison, probably for many miles around. And he used to take people on tours of the Capitol in Madison and teach them American history, because he was master's in history. And at that time, he was written up in the newspapers. Sikh man with turban leads guided tours of the Capitol in Madison. But it's worn so that Sikh men and women can always be recognized. They are duty bound to offer help. Now you can see that this is quite a burden. And it takes a lot of courage then to wear a turban. Of course, more so than ever now after 9/11, but even in the 50s and the 60s, so much so that when it came to my graduation after my MBA at Marquette, I could not keep my hair long and get a job. And I decided I was going to have the courage to do it. So at that time, I cut my hair. Sikh men do not remove their turbans in public and should not be required to do so. And it's one of those things that, I don't know, it's not even expressed very much in the Sikh faith. We just never ask the Sikh man to take off their turban. Then when you get to the security systems in airports, oh my God, you have a whole different aspect to that. And so that had to be explained and explained and explained to the TSA. So here's Sikh turbans on the left and non-Sikh turbans on the right. And you can see there's a difference of style, a difference in draping, a difference in the way of binding the turban. So those are the different types of turbans. Most Sikhs speak Punjabi, especially first generation immigrants to the United States. Over 80 million people speak Punjabi in the world, and it's written from left to right, and the alphabet contains 35 letters. So there are sounds that do not exist in English. And as a result, there are words that we can't spell in English. My given name, for instance, on my birth certificate was Shehnaz, and then my grandfather decided it was going to be Shauna. You try writing that in English. It's just impossible. So we worship at gurudwaras. These are what we call our places of worship. So like you have a church, a synagogue, you have a gurudwara. And in our case, in Brookfield, it's called the Sikh Religious Society of Wisconsin. And in Oak Creek, it's called the Sikh Temple. We're trying to get away from the word temple because it has other connotations that don't quite fit with our faith. We're actually trying to decolonize the entire Sikh translation of the Guru Granth and everything because the translations are so biblically encoded. We read, a custodian of the Guru Granth Sahib is a Granthi, which means that a woman can also be a Granthi. And women have been, women at home particularly are Granthis as well. My grandmother knew the Guru Granth Sahib 1430 pages by heart. So, so I guess she could be a Granthi. Men and women read the Guru Granth Sahib in public, in the Gurudwara, or in their homes. And when you keep it in your home, it's to be treated as a person, just as it is in the Gurudwara. It is to be woken up, it is to be read from, it is to be put to bed at night, just like a person. You consult it just as you would consult an elder by opening it up and looking at the first verse on the left-hand page. So when we go to it for counsel, we go to it as an elder. People of all religions are welcome in the Gurudwara, and you see people of all religions there. We always have a free community kitchen called a langar, serving people of all faiths, and we're all supposed to volunteer in the langar, which means that men also cook, men also serve, which is, nice. They don't necessarily do it at home, but they do it in the Gurudwara. Sikh Gurudwaras in this area are in Milwaukee, Oak Creek, Madison, Palatine. Do drop in. We are in many professions. We are artists, actors, basketball player there, military. Military is a big one. Mostly promoted by the British when they were in India, but it's become a kind of traditional occupation for Sikhs. And again, it's because of our whole cultural thing about defending the weak. We're most likely to go into the military, or were at least. I don't know now if it's quite as important to us, but the military has been a huge occupation for Sikhs. I've had many military people in my family. Scientists, doctors, lawyers, politicians, now neuroscientists, bioengineers, payment systems executive at the top of MasterCard, international aid professionals, judges, filmmakers, farmers, so all over the map. So watch out, here comes a Sikh, and he is going to feed you. This is what we do. We try to feed people all over the planet. So we don't proselytize, but seva is a large part of I think it is proselytizing in a way, but it's just not overt. In Milwaukee, since the neo-Nazi shooting in 2012, we've begun to publicize our outreach efforts and actually say this is, like wearing T-shirts with the Sikh American on them and things like that. We never used to do those kinds of things, but we're doing it now. So talk to a Sikh man or woman. We're in your midst today as well. I see some guests here also who are from the Gurdwara. Maybe there. So please come to our Gurdwara on Calhoun Road in Brookfield or in Oak Creek. All are welcome. And we always wish everybody Chardi Kala, which is may creative spirit help you soar. There are lots of acknowledgements here. And here. And there's an email address if you have questions. And I have stuff on my website, translations. Again, we're trying to decolonize these translations. And so I hope that you'll take advantage of the web resources also that are listed over here. SikhNet, Sikhs.org. We've gone online a lot because we love technology, and just reaching out on the internet for us has been really good because when you're a minority faith, it really helps to be able to connect on the internet. So these sites have been very useful to us in the last 20 years, and we strongly recommend that you enjoy it with us. So thank you so much. And I'm going to stop sharing at this point and turn it back to Dan.
Do we have time for congregational applause? I'm guessing we don't. What do we do?
I'll be here afterwards. I'll be here afterwards for questions if you'd like. Yeah.